Om Vishwandarpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyan Nijantargatam Pashyannatmani Mayaya Bahirivod Yatha Nidraya Yasakshat Kurute Prabodha Samaye Swatmanamevadvayam Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Nama Idam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. Om Narayanam Padmabhuvam Vasishtham Shaktin cha Tatputra Parasharam cha Vyasam Shukam Gaudapadam Mahantam Govinda Yogindra Mathasya Shishyam Shri Shankaracharya Mathasya Padma Padam cha Hastamalakam cha Shishyam Tantotakam Vartikakaramanyaan अस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः परब्रह्मनिष्ठं स्वतो धर्मनिष्ठं अहिंसैकनिष्ठं स्वशिष्यैः सुजुष्टं यतीनां वरिष्ठं गुरूणां गरिष्ठं दयानन्दरूपं मदाचार्यमीडे नमः श्री परमार्थाय संसाराध्यासनाशिने श्रोत्रिय ब्रह्मनिष्ठाय तस्मै ब्रह्मविदे नमः श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् Om. I welcome you all to the 11th class of the Fundamentals of Vedanta series. We were looking into the question of how an adhikari becomes an adhikari. And this question is important, and that is why we are spending a lot of time on this. It's because when a person approaches Vedanta, whether the teaching works or not depends on the adhikaritvam. And therefore, these qualifications, these criteria become extremely important. And for a person who has all these criteria in a very good measure, for such a person, the teaching of Vedanta works very quickly. We said that there are three criteria that the adhikari has to meet in order to gain the prayojanam, which is the purnatvam that we are all seeking from the study of Vedanta. So there are three criteria. And the first criteria is that this person should be a mumukshuhu, meaning a direct seeker of purnatvam. The second criteria is that the person should see the indispensable connection between the study of Vedanta and the prayojanam, that is the purnatvam that this person is seeking. And the third is that this person needs to have a certain preparedness of mind, certain additional qualifications that we are roughly grouping by the term called chitta shuddhi. We finished looking into the first aspect of it. The adhikari needs to be a mumukshu. So in order to answer the question, how does this adhikari become an adhikari, we have to answer three questions. How does this adhikari become a mumukshu? How does this adhikari become a jignasuhu? And how does this adhikari gain these qualifications? We finished looking into the first question last week. How does the adhikari become a mumukshu? And I will summarize that first. So we said that the adhikari becomes a mumukshuhu, a seeker of moksha, by discovering the problem of samsara. And what is this discovery of the problem of samsara? The discovery of the problem of samsara is the discovery that the struggle to gain purnatvam out of the first three purusharthas, athaha, kamaha, and dharmaha, is a never-ending struggle. Basically, if the goal is to achieve this purnatvam, then pursuit of these three purusharthas is futile. It cannot lead me to the purnatvam. This discovery is the discovery of the problem of samsara. And we said that the starting axiom, so to say, basically many subjects have their own axioms. For example, algebra has this axiom called a plus b equals b plus a. It looks so obvious that this axiom needs no proof. It looks so obvious that it is taken for granted. It is a starting point based on which a lot of other equations of algebra are built. So there are a set of axioms. So there is something we have taken as an axiom, which is the starting point of samsara. And the axiom is I am apurnaha. I am incomplete, I am lacking, I am this limited individual. And as we saw in the earlier classes, a lot of situations around me tend to just reinforce this apurnatva. At the level of the pramata, karta, bhokta, body, mind, family, possessions, profession. At all of these levels, there are hundreds of reasons, apparently, for me to feel apurnaha and for my apurnatvam to be reinforced. So this axiom that I am apurnaha is the starting point for samsara, the struggle of samsara. Because I am not comfortable with my apurnatvam and I have to do something about it. And therefore I say that I have to try to gain purnatvam by pursuing arthaha, by pursuing kamaha for the sake of security and pleasure, and then by pursuing dharmaha for the sake of my future security and pleasure. Now we said that there are lots of issues with this approach, and I will not go into all of that now. But basically what this person finds is that I have been doing all this pursuit of these three purusharthas, and still I find that I am unaccomplished. I am still feeling apurnaha. So this is like running on a treadmill or running in a race where the finish line keeps moving. And Vedanta says the struggle doesn't end here, it continues in the next life and the next life and so on. So this person has discovered this problem of samsara. But everybody is going through this struggle. Why doesn't everyone discover the problem of samsara? We said that we talked about three types of people. One is the materialist. For the materialist, the world is the means and the world is the end. And therefore, the materialist cannot see anything beyond artha and kama. And he continues to pursue that. And for the materialist, there is no such thing called dharma. Therefore, the materialist may commit adharma in the pursuit of artha and kama, which leads this person to lower life forms. So this person is almost like, you can take the example of a giant wheel. The person gets in at the bottom of the wheel, and then the first half of the life, the person goes up, most of the things look good. But in the second half of the life, one has to confront old age, disease, death. As this chair in the giant wheel comes down, he started off being apurnaha. Throughout this cycle, he was apurnaha, and at the time of the death also he is apurnaha. And then as this wheel crosses over again at the bottom, basically what changes is this person takes up a new body. And then the struggle continues. And this struggle, we say, keeps going on and on. This person doesn't discover this problem of samsara. For him, the world is the means and the world is the end. The next person that we took was a religious materialist. And the religious materialist is still a materialist. The only difference being that this person conforms to dharma. And therefore, because the Veda says that in order for your sakama karmas to be successful, you have to do certain nishkama karmas. As a result of that, the person accrues some punyam. Therefore, his sakama karmas produce some punyam, which yields materialistic results. And his nishkama karmas produce some punyam that leads some spiritual result. But primarily he is sakama karma pradhanaha, meaning that he devotes most of his time to sakama karmas. So with this, since this person is committed to dharma, he avoids the lower life forms. But then this person, because he accrues punyam, he may go to higher lokas, swarga loka, etc. Because in these lokas, there's predominance of artha kamaha. Like we said, the highest material result of dharma purushartha is swarga loka. Where there is an abundance of artha and kamaha that this person can enjoy. But with every enjoyment, the punyam starts to deplete. And a point arrives where the punyam has been exhausted. And then this person has to come back, like we saw, Kshine punye martya lokam vishanti. Etam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam kshine punye martyalokam vishanti. He comes back. And when this person comes back again, he starts from scratch. I am apurnaha, I am apurnaha, I am apurnaha. The third person that we took for our consideration is the religiously spiritual person. And this person, somehow, due to some past punyam, has arrived at a point where this person says, I want to use the Veda, I want to use Dharma, but for my spiritual growth rather than materialistic growth. So this person becomes Nishkama Karma Pradhanaha. This person devotes more of his time and energy to Nishkama Karma and Karma Yoga. And as we said, that the Karma Yoga approach is a powerful approach because it helps in the neutralization of ragas and dveshas, the likes and dislikes. These likes and dislikes, strong likes and dislikes that are resident in the mind of the individual are what prompt this person to go after artha kamaha. Now what happens is this person says, I don't want to be driven by my likes and dislikes, but I want to be driven by dharma. And therefore, his likes and dislikes become subservient to dharma. And at the time of performance of the action, because his actions are in line with dharma, he is able to offer them to Ishvara. Ishvararpana buddhihi. Karma yoga consists of two things we talked about, Ishvararpana buddhihi and prasada buddhihi. These are the two attitudes that the karma yogi incorporates. So at the time of performance of the action, it is Ishvararpana buddhihi. Because the action has to be offered to Ishvara, he says, I will only do what is right and avoid doing what is wrong. So this person sticks to dharma and avoids adharma. Even if his likes and dislikes say, do this, do this. If it is not in keeping with dharma, he will say no. And similarly, even if his likes and dislikes say, don't do this, I don't like this. If he says that this is in keeping with dharma, therefore I will do it. Therefore, his likes and dislikes become subservient to dharma as a karta. Similarly, as a bhokta, as an experiencer, when the life presents its experiences, then at this point, the person takes it as Ishvara's prasada buddhi. Therefore, even if his likes and dislikes rebel, saying that I don't feel comfortable with this result, I don't like it, I don't like this experience, he says, this is Ishvara's prasada, I will go through it with equanimity. Therefore, his likes and dislikes as a bhokta again become subservient to this prasada buddhi. Therefore, the approach of karma yoga leads to neutralization of likes and dislikes. And when the likes and dislikes get neutralized, the person's mind becomes a calmer mind. It becomes a non-reacting mind, a learning mind. And such a mind is then able to see, because it's a learning mind, it is then able to see the deficiencies in the pursuit of the first three purusharthas. He says he sees that they are accompanied by these three doshas. Dukkha mishritatvam, that everything is intermixed with sorrow. There's sorrow in acquisition, sorrow in maintenance, and sorrow when the thing departs. It may be an object, it may be a relationship. There is atripti karatvam, it always leaves me unfulfilled. And then there is bandhakatvam, that I become dependent on more and more things for my happiness, which is proceeding in the other direction. In some ways, we are talking about unconditional happiness, but then this bandhakatvam means there are more conditions. There are more conditions for my happiness, because only if these things are there, I can be happy. So my happiness becomes dependent on a lot of things. This person is able to see these three doshas of the first three purusharthas. And even with regards to dharma, punya, like we say, when punya fructifies, when punya begins to fructify, it brings a conducive situation. It brings a situation in which there is happiness. But then, like we said, punya also gets exhausted. And when the punyam gets exhausted and the punyam departs, that means that the conducive situation departs. And when the conducive situation departs, it brings unhappiness. So arriving punyam brings happiness and departing punyam brings unhappiness. So there is dukkha mishritatvam, atripti karatvam, even with dharma purushartha. So this person is able to see that everything here is like the shoe that bites me. If I try to walk barefoot, the stones prick me. But then I get a shoe, and when I'm wearing the shoe, the stones don't prick me as much, but then the shoe begins to bite me. Therefore, I am apurnaha without the shoe, I am apurnaha with the shoe. So this whole pursuit is not solving the basic problem I started off with, which is I want to get, I want to remove this sense of apurnatvam. I want purnatvam. This person then begins to see that this world has beauty, this world has variety, this world has novelty, but this world has no stability. And we took the example of a cardboard chair that Swamiji gives. Says that a cardboard chair might be beautifully decorated and all that, and but it can only be put in your showcase. If you try to sit on it, it will collapse. Therefore, this person sees that emotionally leaning on the world for the sake of my peace, for the sake of my security, and for the sake of my happiness is not a good idea. Then he begins to question that is there any other way in which I can get to this Purnatva? And when he comes to this point, then Veda Purva says, I can give you artha, I can give you kamaha, I can give you dharma, but what you are now seeking, I cannot give you. And for this, you have what you are seeking now is directly seeking this Purnatvam. You are now a seeker of moksha. We saw the shloka from Mundaka Upanishad, Pariksha Lokan Karmachitan. Brahmano nirvedamayat nasti akrita kritena tad vijnanartham sa gurumeva abhigachet samitpanihi shrotriyam brahmanishta. Pariksha lokan karmachitan, pariksha, having examined karmachitan lokan, all these experiences that can be gained through karma. What are the experiences that can be gained through karma? It is basically artha, kama, and dharma. So having examined these, pariksha lokan karmachitan, brahmano nirvedamayat, the Mundaka Upanishad says that the discriminating person, the brahmana nirvedamayat, may he gain this dispassion. This passion towards what? The pursuit of the first three purusharthas, artha, kama, and dharma. This passion here really means not seeking knowing that these cannot give me the purnatvam I am seeking, and therefore the earlier passion with which one was hoping to extract purnatvam out of these pursuits, that is no longer there for such a person. Brahmano nirvedamayat nasti akrita kritena. The purnatvam that I am seeking cannot be accomplished kritena, through action, through karma, through these experiences. Tad vijnanartham sa gurumeva bhigachet samitpanihi shrotriyam brahmanishtam. Then the Upanishad says, tad vijnanartham, in order to know that. In order to know that Purnatvam, it says, Upanishad doesn't use, it changes the language like we said. Now it says, in order to know that Purnatvam, tad vijnanartham sa gurum eva abhigachet. Gurum eva. This person should only go to a guru. That means nothing else works in the vision of the Upanishad. Says this person should go to a guru. Gurumeva abhigachet. Samitpanihi, with dry sticks in his hand. These dry sticks symbolize the dispassion that this person has gathered. Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. It describes the type of a guru. The guru should be a Shrotriya. Shrotriya meaning the guru should be somebody who has studied the Shastra. Did this guru study the Shastra himself? No. When his guru gained the dispassion also, the Upanishad told him, Guru meva abhigachet. So this guru went to guru and studied the Shastra. And that's why he is called Shrotriya. He has listened to the Shastra. So that means this guru should be somebody who is coming in the lineage of gurus. Brahmanishtam, and this guru should be someone who abides in this teaching, who abides as Brahman. So now this person has become a mumukshuhu, a seeker of moksha. So this answers our first question: how did this person become a mumukshuhu? And before we go to the second question, how does this person become a jignasuhu? Meaning of somebody who sees this indispensable connection between the study of Vedanta and moksha, this purnatvam. There's just one more point. We need to talk a couple of more points about this person becoming a mumukshuhu. So this becoming a mumukshuhu, this mumukshutvam is actually a spectrum. It's not a binary. Either you are a mumukshuhu or you are not a mumukshuhu. Well, as far as a materialist is concerned, you can say is certainly not a mumukshuhu. A religious materialist is also not a mumukshuhu. But when this person becomes religiously spiritual and this person begins to grow, at that point there is a certain spectrum. This person is initially a manda mumukshuhu, meaning initially he has some mumukshutvam, but it is a feeble mumukshutvam. So he has got 56 desires that he wants to fulfill, and then he comes across some satsanga or some classes like the ones that we are engaging in here. The person hears about this thing called moksha, and he says, no, this is something I should probably pursue. It sounds interesting. And so he adds that as desire number 57 in his list of things. There are desires above this, and then this comes in as the last desire. This person is a manda mumukshuhu. And then as this person devotes some time to this pursuit, a strange thing happens, which is that this moksha desire begins to go up in his list of desires. So desire number 57, it becomes at some point desire number 50, let us say. And then there are 49 desires above it, and then 7 desires below it. Now, the moksha desire has a funny property. We talked about desires in general, And we said, Kama esha, Krodha esha, Rajo guna samudbhavaha, Mahashana, Mahapapma, Mahashanaha, that was the word that was used. And we said these desires have a big diet. And that's why it's called Mahashanaha. That is in case of Laukika desires, where this desire, no matter how much you feed it with Artha and Kamaha, it is not fulfilled. In fact, desire is equated to fire, where you keep pouring ghee and the fire becomes bigger, it wants more. So that is the case with desires in general. But this moksha desire is different. Swamiji says, it also eats. But what does it eat? Swamiji uses this term, moksha desire is a cannibal desire. What's a cannibal? A cannibal is something that feeds on other things that are of the same species. So the moksha desire is a cannibal desire. It feeds on other desires. So this desire got promoted to desire number 50, and then it starts to feed on the desires that are below it. Basically, what happens is as it becomes clearer and clearer that the pursuit of moksha is what is going to give me this fulfillment, and other desires start to drop off. Or, one may still engage in certain actions in the world, but then this feeling behind that I am going to get purnatvam, I am going to get fulfillment out of this, that is no longer there. This dispassion comes in. So this moksha desire then figuratively feeds on these other desires. So now there are only 50 desires left really. But this person still feels from other things I can perhaps get some purnatvam, it is worth pursuing. And that is why moksha is desire number 50. There are 49 desires up above it. But this desire has now got promoted. You see. So this promotion keeps happening as one pursues this study. Desire gets promoted. And as the desire gets promoted, again, it's a cannibal. So it feeds on some of the other desires. Finally, one may come to a point where moksha is desire number 12, and there are 11 desires above it. Person is still a manda mumukshuhu. At some point, there comes a point when moksha becomes desire number 1, and there are 11 desires below it. Person says, moksha is my highest priority. It's pretty clear to me. But then there are these things, other things also I want to do. Because I'm still thinking that there is going to be some, sense of fulfillment out of that, perhaps. So this person then becomes a madhyama mumukshu. Madhyama mumukshu is somebody for whom moksha is number 1 desire. He certainly starts to devote more time to it, but there are these other desires also that he's pursuing parallelly. But this moksha desire is a cannibal. It starts to feed on the other desires. At some point, there comes a time where moksha becomes the only desire. The person is crystal clear that nothing else is going to solve my problem. And this person becomes a tivra mumukshu. Shastra gives this example of imagine a person whose hair is on fire. When a person's hair is on fire, is he going to say, let me go and watch a movie? Is he going to say, let me go and visit this place? Somebody told me it's a nice place. Perhaps I should go to Andaman and Nicobar. No. This person is going to single-pointedly search for a water body into which he can dump his head in order to extinguish the fire. So this is a Tivra Mumukshuhu. The Tivra Mumukshuhu is one for whom moksha is the only desire, and all his effort is just directed into this pursuit, saying nothing else is going to fix this. I have to somehow solve this problem. This and drops the other pursuits. drops the other pursuits in the sense very clear that none of them are going to give me this Purnatvam. So this is the progression of Mumukshutvam. Now the next point regarding this is that once one comes to this dispassion with regards to artha, kamaha and dharma pursuit, then one may not know what to do next. Here we straight away said, Upanishad says, go to a guru who is Shrotriya Brahmanishta. And then this guru will tell you how to proceed. But then there are a lot of people in this world who somehow don't have exposure to this teaching. So they don't know what to do next. So at this point, one starts on an exploration. And one is particularly vulnerable at this point because anything that promises some fulfillment, this person will want to explore. There are people even within Sanatana Dharma who don't know about these higher teachings. For them, they think that Sanatana Dharma is all about, a ritualistic life and all that, and there is nothing beyond it. Because they have not been exposed. Like we said, largely a lot of us are products of the Western education system, where they have made sure that none of us are taught these things. So when a person gains this dispassion from artha, kama and dharma, what does such a person do? Even though he is supposedly in Sanatana Dharma, he doesn't know what is there for Sanatana Dharma to offer. And then there are other people who are born outside the Sanatana Dharma, outside the Vedic culture. The people in South America, for example, or Europe, even they can gain this dispassion. Because this is a multi-janma growth. Whatever we discussed about, all of this transition does not happen in one janma. So this karma yoga stage, etc., it is very possible that somebody has gone through it in the past janmas. So in this janma, at a young age itself, this person gains this dispassion and then starts exploration. So this person may not be born in this culture also. And when this exploration starts, then one may start to explore whatever. There are various things that say, I can take you to this fulfillment. There are various philosophies. So somebody may say, I want to explore Zen Buddhism, right? Because he thinks Zen has to offer whatever he's looking for. Or somebody else may say that, basically Western philosophy. Somebody may get into Western philosophy. There are volumes and volumes written on it. So there is all this exploration that happens when one comes to this point. And they say that one's past karmas have a big role in deciding which direction one pursues. But what we say is that if one has really come to this point, one should listen to and evaluate what Vedanta has to say about this. One should give a serious thought to what Vedanta says about this. Because in the view of Vedanta, there is a particular phenomenon that is going on here. And until one understands the nature of this problem very clearly, what is the problem I'm grappling with? What is the problem I'm trying to solve? Unless one understands this problem very clearly, one will not adopt the right solution. So it is like a person blindfolded in a forest. The person has to get out. This person will just be groping around this way, that way, trying to find out some way out. So what Vedanta says about this is very unique and very interesting. And that is what we will look at now. So when a person approaches Vedanta, let us say, the seeker of this Purnatva approaches Vedanta. And when we say nobody can really approach Vedanta, we say approaches a guru who really understands what Vedanta is talking about. And what the guru says is what Vedanta says. So I will just use the term Vedanta says, but really it is the guru who is telling all this. So when a seeker of moksha approaches Vedanta, approaches the guru, and says, what do I do to gain this Purnatvam? Then the guru, the Vedanta, gives a very unexpected answer. Says you are asking the wrong question. You have been doing this. You've been doing all your life. You have been doing in the pursuit of artha. You have been doing the pursuit of kama. You have been doing the pursuit of dharma. Have you gotten this Purnatva? By now you should know that the result of all karma, the result of doing, it has got these three doshas: dukkha mishritatvam, atriptikaratvam, bandhakatvam. But moksha is a faultless purushartha. It doesn't have any of these doshas. We saw the definition of moksha: atyantika dukkha nivrittihi paramananda praptischa. Atyantika dukkha nivrittihi, the cessation of all sorrow. Paramananda praptischa, the attainment of unconditional happiness, unconditional fulfillment. Where is the dukkha mishritatvam in this? Then the second dosha with the first three purusharthas is atriptikaratvam. Basically, it leaves me feeling apurna. But what is moksha? Moksha is unconditional fulfillment. Purnatvam, it is the opposite. So there is no apurnatvam, no atriptikaratvam in moksha. And what is the third dosha? Bandhakatvam. All these other three pursuits were making me dependent on things. That means my happiness was conditional on all those things. But what is this Purnatvam really? It is unconditional fulfillment, independent fulfillment. So there is no dependency on of this fulfillment on other things. There is no Bandhakatvam also. So what you are pursuing really doesn't have any of these doshas. But whatever you do, whatever result action produces, action is karma. Karma produces karma phalam. Every karma phala is limited. All of the artha, kama, dharma have these limitations. Moksha doesn't have this. It cannot be attained by doing, says Vedanta. And the seeker asks, then can it be attained by not doing? Perhaps I don't do anything. And I just sit there and maybe my past karmas will just somehow give me this moksha on a platter. Vedanta says, no, it cannot be attained by not doing either. And the seeker says, what are you talking about? You're saying I cannot attain it by doing, I cannot attain it by not doing. Then how can I attain it? This is where Vedanta drops a bombshell. Says you cannot attain it. The seeker is now really confused. What do you mean I cannot attain it? Vedanta says you need not attain it. Seeker says, what are you talking about? I don't understand. I cannot attain it by doing. I cannot attain it by not doing. Now you're saying I cannot attain it and I need not attain it. Vedanta says, I'll ask you a question. Do you want to attain a head over your shoulders? This person says, what an absurd question is that? Why do I want to attain a head over my shoulders? I already have a head. Vedanta says, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You cannot attain a head by doing anything. You cannot attain a head over your shoulders by not doing anything. You cannot attain it. You cannot attain a head, period. You cannot attain a head. Why? Because you already have it. And you need not attain a head, you already have it. So this moksha is your nature. This purnatvam is your very nature. You cannot attain it by doing. You cannot attain it by not doing. You cannot attain it. You need not attain it. The only reason why you think you want to attain it is because you are ignorant of your nature. So, Vedanta says that your seeking is like sugar seeking sweetness. Imagine the absurdity of that. Sugar is seeking sweetness, or fire is seeking heat. The nature of fire is heat, the nature of sugar is sweetness. Or we come back to our example, the lady with the necklace seeking the necklace which is on her neck. Oftentimes we find that the keys are in my pocket, but I look around for the keys. So in this context, Vedanta gives an example, a story. The story is called The Awakening of the 10th Man. The Awakening of the 10th Man. So the setting of the story is that there is a Gurukulam. And in this Gurukulam, there are 10 boys who are studying there. Called the story Awakening of the 10th Man. Really, these are boys, you can take them to be. And these boys, they have been studying for a very long time. And it's more like a Veda Pathshala. So one day the Guru instructs them that that there is a festival that is going on in a town nearby. But the journey involves a few days. One has to walk on foot. So you all go there and participate in that festival. So what happens is that these 10 boys set off on their journey, and they have to walk a long distance and all that. And then there is a river that they come to. They have to cross this river. So they are all very good swimmers. So everybody knows that there are 10 boys there. They all jump into the river and start swimming. When they reach the other side, the Guru had instructed them that just be careful you don't miss anybody. Just because it's a long journey, keep a watch to make sure everybody's there. So they go to the other side, and then they start to count, saying that let's make sure there are 10. So everybody counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So everybody says there is only 9 left. Everyone starts to count and they say there are only 9 of us. The problem is quite obvious. Each person forgot to count himself. But then they got into this mindset that there are only 9. So they said there is one boy who is missing. Let us go in search of that boy. So everybody disperses. And some people go upstream. Some people go in the other direction. There is a forest nearby. Some people start to search in that. So now the strange thing here is that everybody takes the 10th boy to be missing. Each boy says the 10th boy is missing. But that boy himself is the 10th boy. He has forgotten to account for himself. So this search can never be fruitful because you're looking for the 10th boy in the wrong place. This search will never end. So these people go on this fruitless search. And after a few hours, each boy comes back disappointed, saying, I did not find the 10th boy. And they gather and they all conclude the 10th boy is drowned. And then they cannot control their emotions. They start to wail and cry. He discussed this helplessness, anger, frustration, depression. These are the symptoms of samsara. HAFD. These people feel helpless, angry, frustrated, depressed. Some of them may even start to blame the other fellow, saying that I told you keep a watch on the others and you did not do that. There may be all kinds of emotions, but when we look at this bigger picture, we see how um, flawed this entire situation is. So when all this commotion is going on, there's a passerby who comes there. And he inquires what is going on. And these people explain the problem that this 10th boy is missing. So he repeatedly hears from everybody the 10th boy is missing. But when he does a quick count, he can see there are 10 boys there. This passerby is enlightened. He is a wise person. Wise when it comes to the count of these boys. So this person tells them, stop, stop, stop. The 10th man is right here in our midst, he says. The 10th man is right here. So this person looks fairly dignified, right? He looks like a respectable person, a trustworthy person. So when these boys hear these words from this person, they feel that he has something to tell us, perhaps let us listen to him. So they have this attitude that says, let me listen to what this person has to say. This is basically Shraddha. So these 10 boys have some Shraddha. They want to listen to what he has to say. So when they hear this, there is perhaps a sense of relief that, the 10th boy is there. But then when they still look around, they ask where? Because they cannot see the 10th boy. And then this man said, 10th boy is right here in our midst, but I still cannot see that. So you see, the orientation is wrong. Even though they have listened to the words that the 10th boy is there, they still have this incorrect orientation. They're still looking in the wrong place. Then this person says, I have told you that the 10th boy is there. Now I will also show you that the 10th boy is there. So he makes all of them stand in line. And then he calls this boy here and he says, you count. So this boy again counts. And he says, there's nothing different. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Where is the 10th boy? He asks. So this passerby says, you are the 10th boy. You are the 10th man. You have forgotten to count yourself. And even as they heard these words, that you are the 10th man, Dashamaha Tvam Asi. You are the 10th. What happened to their problems? Problems evaporated. What happened to all that helplessness, anger, frustration, depression? All of that just evaporated. Because this person had a certain awakening. This is the awakening of the 10th man. He realized that this 10th man that I was haplessly searching for everywhere, I am that 10th man. I had just forgotten. I was looking in the wrong place. When I looked in the right place, it is obvious. I am this 10th man. So we say that this jiva's search for Purnatvam is exactly like this 10th man's search for the 10th man. The jiva in the vision of Vedanta is already Purnaha, unconditionally fulfilled, full, complete, limitless. Because the jiva is ignorant of his nature. The jiva takes himself to be Apurnaha, just like the 10th man took himself to be, I am not the 10th man. He said the 10th man is missing and went in search of the 10th man. Similarly, the Jiva, even though the Jiva is Purnaha, takes himself to be Apurnaha because of ignorance. And then the Jiva is searching for this Purnatvam everywhere. And obviously, just like the 10th man could never find the 10th man in the place he was looking because he was looking in the wrong place. Similarly, Vedanta says Jiva can never find this Purnatvam that he is looking for because he is looking for it in the right place, just in the wrong place. Just like we said that this I want to be fulfilled, if you remember that. I want to be fulfilled. In this sentence, we have ignored the left-hand side, the I, and we are looking for the fulfillment everywhere else except the I. And similarly, we took the example, if you recall, of this person who was looking for the ring, but he was looking for the ring where the light is. We said just because our sense organs illumine the world, we think that this world is where I should look for the fulfillment. Vedanta says you have been looking for it in the wrong place, and therefore your search can never be fruitful. And this search is not a pleasant search either. See that this 10th man underwent a lot of stress and strain during the search. He went to unfamiliar places and he was groping around looking for the 10th man. He had helplessness, anger, frustration, depression. It was not a pleasant search. Similarly, the Jiva's search for this Purnatvam in Artha, Kama, Dharma is not very pleasant because it is mixed with those doshas that we discussed. It has all of those problems that we talked about. It's finally like running on a treadmill. Forever one runs on this treadmill trying to get there. One never gets there. If the search had been pleasant, perhaps it is not. It is something one can continue. But then the search is not very pleasant either. So all the more reason to look for Purnatvam in the right place. Vedanta says that this search, this jiva, this Purnatvam is already accomplished. And much like the 10th man was told and shown that you are the 10th man. Similarly, the jiva's commitment to looking for this fulfillment through artha, kama, and dharma, that needs to give way. And then there has to be a committed examination of this problem. The commitment has to be directed to a different pursuit, an entirely different pursuit. The jiva needs to be told and shown that you are the Purnatvam that you're seeking. So this is the speciality of the Vedantic teaching, that it diagnoses the problem first of all, what the problem is, and then it tells you what is the higher level picture, what is going on, and finally it shows you that you are already Purnaha. So the teaching, the method of the teaching is very important here. So we say there are two types of accomplishments. Apraptasya praptihi. Apraptasya praptihi, meaning accomplishing of the unaccomplished. And praptasya praptihi, accomplishment of the already accomplished. So when we talk about, that I don't have enough money, and therefore one has to earn money, and one takes up a job and earns money. So this situation is clearly that this person doesn't have money and this person has to earn money. It is apraptasya praptihi, because the money is not accomplished. He has to accomplish the gaining of the money. So all of these artha, kamaha, and dharma pursuits are accomplishing the unaccomplished. Apraptasya praptihi. If I feel I need some entertainment, let us say one wants to watch the IPL tournament, for example, at home. So this is a pursuit of kamaha. And in order to do this, one has to get a TV and put it up. Again, apraptasya praptihi, accomplishing the unaccomplished. Or one says that, I still feel that I have to accomplish a lot of punyam and go to Swargaloka. One feels that that is going to solve the problem. Again, it is apraptasya praptihi, accomplishing the unaccomplished. So artha, kamaha, dharma pursuits all come under accomplishing the unaccomplished. But Vedanta says this moksha pursuit is very different from all of this. The 10th man was already the 10th man that he was seeking. The jiva, nature of the jiva is already the purnatvam that the jiva is seeking. The seeker is the sought. He is already what he is seeking to be. The only thing that creates the distance between the seeker and the sought is ignorance. So any search this person undertakes, is due to ignorance only. The 10th man undertook a search for the 10th man because he thought the 10th man was missing. Similarly, the jiva undertakes a search for purnatvam because he thinks the purnatvam is missing. And this search actually takes one away from where one has to look. One is looking in the wrong place. The more committed one is to this search, then the more one is going down a path where one is not going to find it. So this search can never come to a logical conclusion, and that is why this search is endless. And such a search can only end with knowledge. Knowledge that the search is invalid, and knowledge that what is being sought is already accomplished. So this is called accomplishment of the accomplished, praptasya praptihi. That is why we say that it is very important for one to diagnose the problem properly. The correct diagnosis of any problem is extremely important. One has to understand the problem deeply. What is the problem that I am trying to solve? If it is not understood, and if one hurriedly embarks on some pursuit or the other, some solution, then the solution is highly likely going to be a solution that doesn't fix the problem. That is why we say that we have to understand the root cause of any problem before we say, I want to embark on a solution for it. So even though the artha, kama, and dharma pursuits have not solved the problem, still we say it is not entirely useless. We say that for this person, these gave some valuable experience. And this problem, the pursuit of artha, kama, and dharma, if this person had the right mindset, if he was this religiously spiritual type of person, then these experiences would have helped him understand that these are not leading me where I want to go. And this person, you see, would become more mature in the process. So the artha, kama, dharma pursuits were required in order for this person to mature. But once this person has matured, then this person should see that these cannot lead me to the solution. And this pursuit of purnatvam requires an entirely different pursuit. So this diagnosis of the root cause, as we say, is extremely important on all the fields. Whether you take medicine, A disease has to be diagnosed properly before it can be really solved. Because unless the medicine or the surgery hits at the root cause, if the root cause is still around, it will keep resurfacing in different shapes and forms. This diagnosis of the root cause is extremely important in engineering also. In case, some of us have been in the engineering field, and some of us have been in the software field, we know how much of a struggle it is to find the root cause of a software issue, for example. And unless the bug fix or whatever addresses the root cause, basically, if somebody tries just fixes some symptoms of the problem, if the root cause of the problem is still there, that keeps coming back in different shapes and forms. That is exactly what is happening with the jiva who is pursuing artha kama dharma. He thinks that the artha kama dharma is going to solve his problem, and therefore he is pursuing all of this. But then they never address the root cause. His ignorance is left untouched by all of these pursuits. So whenever I am searching for a solution and I am running pillar to post, doing this, doing that, that should give me an understanding that I have not yet diagnosed the root cause. We will take this medical example, an example from medicine, and this thing happened really to somebody I know. That this person was feeling very tired. And so he went to a doctor. The doctor did some tests and found this person was anemic. So the doctor said that you are anemic and therefore you take the iron supplements. He gave him iron supplements. So this person took the iron supplements and he was feeling better. He felt a little better. But the moment he stopped taking the iron supplements, then the problem resurfaced. He started to feel tired again. So this time he went to a separate doctor, a different doctor. And this doctor said the previous doctor did not get to the root cause. He was just addressing the symptoms. I want to get down to the root cause of this. So he did some additional tests, including a colonoscopy and all that. And when they did the colonoscopy, they found this person had bowel bleeding. Bleeding in the bowel. So that was the root cause of this problem. So finally, when this doctor addressed that root cause, this person felt very healthy. Basically, he did not have to repeatedly go after these supplements. The Artha, Kama, and Dharma pursuits in the vision of Vedanta, they are like these supplements, palliatives, so to say, that temporarily address the issue, but they leave the root cause unaddressed. So we say this diagnosis of the root cause is very important, and without Vedanta, this person can never diagnose the root cause. The root cause is ignorance. And once we know that the root cause is ignorance, the solution should become obvious. Because there is only one thing that counters ignorance, which is knowledge. We are already past 1 hour. I will stop here and we'll continue this discussion of how and why one should become a Jigyasuhu. We are answering that question. Why one should become a Jigyasuhu, a seeker of knowledge. We'll continue this in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. If there are any comments or questions, can bring them up.
Can I ask? Yes, sir.
Vishwanathanji, you wanted to say something? Your voice is quite feeble.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
A little better.
Okay. So what I want to ask is,
Yeah, this is better now. Yeah.
what I have learned in this class today,
Mm.
that the happiness is within yourself already. That's what I conclude. Instead of looking at the happiness in the worldly objects, which means that I don't require to worry about anything about not having it. Everything within yourself, and then you should enjoy that in these worldly matters, which is not going to directly impact you. So you should enjoy the life as it is, and then do your karmas and surrendering the actions to the God or Ishvara, and don't expect any results. That's what I conclude from today's discussions. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, this search for happiness outside will never be fruitful, because, as you said, this happiness is all within you, really. But there is a lot more teaching that has to follow with regards to this, because it is accomplishing this accomplished, right? So whatever you're seeking, it is already accomplished. That happiness is already accomplished. And this happiness is the final, it is the final thing that we are seeking in terms of Purnatvam. This Purnatvam is already accomplished. But then one has to understand how this Purnatvam is accomplished. There is a lot of understanding. There is some knowledge involved here that we have not yet touched. So only when we dwell on that knowledge, first we have to listen to what it is, right? One has to listen that all of my experiences are so contrary. Just like the case of the 10th man, when this person was told by the passerby that the 10th man is amidst us here and now, right? And still that person asked where, right? So his orientation was still, he was looking in the wrong place. So sometimes, so basically the point I'm trying to get to is that he still had to be shown how he was the 10th man. See? So similarly, there is a lot of teaching that follows that shows me how I am Purna. And only when one clearly understands that ignorance will go. That ignorance, only knowledge is opposed to ignorance. Just like if I want to get rid of physics ignorance, I have to learn physics. If I have to get rid of French ignorance, I have to learn French. Similarly, if I have to get rid of self-ignorance, I have to listen to what Vedanta has to say about this. And only then will that self-ignorance go. And basically, therefore, once one begins to see what Vedanta is saying in terms of the knowledge, it begins to become clearer and clearer that this Purnatvam is myself. And then all seeking for it comes to an end. So that is the progression, and we are still scratching the surface here, so to say. There's a lot more to be said about this.
I fully agree.
I have a question, or rather split in two parts.
Sure.
First is, if the Purnatvam already exists in me, why is it clouded by ignorance? If Purnatvam encompasses everything, why isn't it overriding my ignorance?
Mhm.
And if there is ignorance which is separate from this Purnatvam, are there two entities inside me? One is not able to experience the Purnatvam in me, and one I'm not able to make that distinction.
Yeah, that's a very good question, and actually a very profound question. this requires a lot more background to answer this. I think that if we take the dream example, right, it will make things somewhat clearer. That in the dream, the waker is Purnaha, right? The dream individual who is being chased by these dogs is not Purnaha, is Apurnaha, right? So what is the reality of that individual in the dream? The reality of the individual in the dream is a waker only. The dream arises in the waker. The dream is sustained by the waker. And when one wakes up from the dream disappears into the waker. The waker is Purnaha. With respect to the dream, the waker is unaffected by the dream. The waker is always unconditionally fulfilled irrespective of what happens in the dream. After waking up from the dream, the waker doesn't say, I was being chased by dogs, therefore I am unhappy. Or there were 3 people in the well I was trying to rescue in the dream. Now I should go back and continue that. None of that is there. When the waker wakes up from the dream, at that point, the whole dream, whatever happens in the dream, doesn't impact the waker's Purnatvam. So similarly, there is a super waker here. That super waker I am not familiar with. In this Srishti, which we took the dream example. Now we are in the waking world. In this waking world, there is a super waker who I really am that I don't know. And I have to awaken to my reality of being this super waker. And when that happens, this waking world will not affect my Purnatvam. Now that second part of it, with regards to ignorance and this being separate things, right? We say that there is Brahman, the all-pervading consciousness. We have not discussed all this. I'm giving a preview of whatever we'll be discussing in future. And then there is Maya. These are supposedly these you can take it. We are giving it 2 names, Brahman and Maya. This Maya creates this entire waking world. Just as I create my dream world, the Ishvara's Maya that creates this entire waking world. But this Maya doesn't exist separately from Brahman. Because the Maya doesn't have an existence of its own. Just like, for example, you take the example of a pot. A pot cannot exist different from clay. Ornament cannot exist different from gold. So similarly, this Maya doesn't have any separate existence. Only one thing in this whole universe really exists, that is only Brahman. This Maya doesn't have independent existence. And this ignorance, this Maya has 2 powers. One is to conceal Brahman, and the other is to project this world. It does 2 things, concealment and projection. So even though it is the Shakti of Brahman, it conceals and projects. Therefore, this ignorance is resident in the consciousness only. Ignorance cannot exist outside consciousness. But this ignorance cannot really limit consciousness. It can only produce some delusion in the mind of this human being. But there is a lot of study involved here, which we'll look into in more detail.
Okay,
we'll come to that. So I hope this gives something, and I understand that the second part of the dream example is easier to relate to. The
Correct.
second part is more difficult, but it
Correct.
requires some more teaching that has to come.
Sure.
And when that comes, it will become clearer.
Sure. Thank you. We'll wait for the next subsequent classes.
Yeah. It will take a while for us to get to that point, but we will get there.
Right. And the other point which keeps see this Purnatvam and this ignorance or the Maya, whatever, are continuing to exist in parallel for at least people like me right now, then is pursuing that Purnatvam a good goal at all? Because I mean, we are seeing that it does not have enough power to overpower or override the Maya. So maybe not in this class, wherever if you think that it will get answered, but that's the question which is still running in the background.
See, all of this is like the 10th man asking that should I, listen to this person, right? And follow whatever is saying on, or should I continue with whatever I was doing, right? So for a while, both will go on in parallel, right? But the effect of this teaching is that it gradually, if it is having the effect, then the commitment to the other pursuits and the commitment for search for Purnatvam from the other pursuit will gradually start to, give way. And then the commitment to this other pursuit, the pursuit of knowledge, will become stronger and stronger. So this is a gradual transformation that has to happen.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Sir, last question before we conclude. Probably you can answer in the next class as well.
Sure.
You
we'll
said,
see how much time we have.
Yeah. Super waker, you said, which is equivalent to the full awareness which you are talking about. Awareness of what's happening, awareness of full awareness, you can call it as a subconscious or consciousness and super consciousness. That's what you are trying to relate, which I'm trying to think of.
Yes. So all of this requires subsequent classes in which we can get into it in a lot more detail. We have to talk about who Ishvara is and how this Srishti comes about, and all of that background we have not yet built.
Right, sir.
So at this point, I understand I am using a term that you cannot entirely relate to, but that term also be used in order to answer the question that Krishna had asked. But this requires, some waiting, and we will come to that point.
Right, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we will conclude.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Hari.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari.
Hari Om.
Hari.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari.